I accidentally opened a credit card statement addressed to him and nearly dropped the envelope. There were charges for weekend getaways, designer handbags, and even a $10,000 diamond ring. The billing address? Not our home. Shaking, I called the jewelry store and asked, "Can you confirm the name on the purchase?" The saleswoman cheerfully replied, "Of course. It's for Miss Emily Carter. Her fiancé said she'd love it." My hands trembled as I whispered, "Oh, she's going to love what comes next." The next morning, I walked into the store and said, "I'd like to return this and expose the man who bought it." I'm 42 female, married to a 48 male named Mark. We've been married 17 years. We live in Portland, Oregon. 2 teenage kids, 1 dog, pretty normal suburban life. I'm a high school English teacher, and Mark is a financial advisor. He's the clean-cut, buttoned-up type. Wears suits even when he's working from home. Loves jazz. Always been the steady one in the relationship. Or so I thought. The day it all started was nothing special. It was a Wednesday. I remember that because it was early release at school and I got home before 2. Mark was still at work. I grabbed the mail from the kitchen counter like I always do. There was a big envelope mixed in with the usual junk. Black and gold. Fancy looking. It was from one of those premium credit card companies. Addressed to him. We don't really open each other's mail unless it's bills, but this one was already a little torn on the side. I thought it might be something important. I opened it, and my hands started shaking. I don't remember the exact order of the charges, but I remember what I saw. There was a weekend charge at the Ritz-Carlton Lake Tahoe. 2 nights. Room service. Spa. We haven't been there together in over a year. Next one? Napa Valley. 5-star vineyard stay. Multiple dinners. Wine tastings. Then charges at some designer boutique in Beverly Hills. Handbags. One was almost $3,000. I don't even own a purse that costs more than $200, and I'm fine with that. At this point, I sat down. Then I saw it. A charge for $10,327.45 at a place called Vera and Wolf Jewelers. My stomach dropped. I knew that store. It's right downtown. All glass, all sparkle, way out of our normal price range. And under the billing information, it didn't list our home address. It had a condo listed in the Pearl District. Fancy area. Definitely not ours. I felt my chest get tight. I read through the statement 3 more times to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding something. This wasn't a one-time mistake. It was months of luxury expenses. Thousands and thousands of dollars. None of it had anything to do with me. I could barely breathe. I just kept reading, hoping it would make sense. Hoping I'd find something in there that said this was a work expense or a client trip or anything other than what it clearly was. I couldn't stop shaking. I needed answers. So I called the jewelry store. A woman picked up right away. Her voice was cheerful, like she loved her job. "Vera and Wolf, this is Jenny. How can I help you?" I said, "Hi, I'm calling to confirm a recent purchase made on a black platinum card last week for over $10,000. She said, "Sure. Do you have the last 4 digits of the card?" I read them off from the statement. She said, "Oh yes, I remember that one. Beautiful choice. That was the 2.3 carat cushion cut. White gold. Halo setting. A really popular style lately." I asked, "Do you have a name on the purchase?" She didn't even hesitate. Of course. It was for Miss Emily Carter. Her fiancé said she'd absolutely love it. We gift wrapped it and everything. I didn't say anything for a second. Then I whispered, "Oh, she's going to love what comes next." Then I hung up. My whole body was numb. I couldn't think straight. I didn't cry yet. I just stared at the wall. It felt like my head was filling with white noise. I didn't know who Emily Carter was. I'd never heard her name before. But my husband had called her his fiancé. And he'd bought her a ring that cost more than my car. I didn't say anything that night. Mark came home, kissed me on the cheek, acted like nothing was wrong. He even asked if I wanted to order Thai food. I said I wasn't hungry. I watched him eat pad Thai while he told me about his boring meetings. I wanted to scream. Instead, I spent most of that night on my phone, searching the address listed on the credit card. It was a luxury condo building. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Balconies. Rooftop pool. I had to know. The next morning, I called out sick. I told the kids I was running errands. I drove downtown and parked a block away from the building. My hands were sweating when I walked into the lobby. I was sure someone would stop me, but no one did. The guy at the front desk looked up and smiled. I walked over and said, "Hi. I'm meeting Mark Baines at 1403. He said to just head up. Baines is Mark's mom's maiden name. I guessed he might be using it. The guy nodded and buzzed me in without asking anything else. Elevator. 14th floor. I walked slowly down the hallway. I was holding my phone in my hand in case I needed to record anything. I knocked. It took a few seconds. Then a woman opened the door. She was young, maybe late 20s. Long blonde hair, bare feet, wearing a silk robe. She looked surprised but not scared. "Hi," I said, "you don't know me, but I'm Mark's wife." She froze. I could literally see her face change. She blinked fast, like she didn't know what to say. "I'm sorry, what?" I held up the envelope. "I found this." I saw the statement. The ring, the hotel rooms, the handbags. And I just spoke to the jewelry store. They told me all about the ring he bought you. Congratulations, by the way. She opened her mouth, then closed it. "He told me you were divorced." I laughed. It came out hard and sharp. "Yeah, I get that a lot today." She stepped back. I had no idea. I believed her. The apartment behind her looked lived in. Cozy, like someone had been staying there a while. I didn't go inside. I didn't need to. I had seen enough. I said, "Keep the ring. Or don't." I returned it this morning. The refund's probably already processing. Then I turned and walked away. I was shaking the whole elevator ride down. I cried in the car. Not loud. Not messy. Just quiet, hopeless tears. I felt stupid. Embarrassed. Numb. When I got home, I packed a suitcase. Mark walked in at 6:30, carrying a bottle of wine. Smiling. He saw me sitting on the edge of the bed, suitcase half open, the envelope next to me. He stopped. "Rachel," he said. "What's going on?" I looked him dead in the eye and said, "How long?" He didn't answer. So I picked up the envelope, held it out, and said, "I saw everything. Napa. Tahoe. The handbags. The ring. The billing address." I went there. I met her. His face went white. He opened his mouth, then shut it. Then he said the dumbest thing I've ever heard. "I was going to tell you." I laughed again. Same sharp, bitter sound. "When? After you married her too?" He stepped forward. "It's not what you think, then what is it?" I snapped. "Because it looks like you're cheating. Lying. Living a double life. Buying diamonds and hotels and handbags for some woman while I'm here raising your kids and paying half the mortgage." He didn't have an answer. So I left. That's where I am right now. I'm at a friend's place. She's letting me crash in her guest room. I haven't told the kids yet. I don't know how. I can't stop replaying everything. The dinners we had. The nights I thought he was working late. The weekends he said he was at conferences. I keep thinking maybe I missed signs. Maybe I was too busy. Too tired. Too trusting. I don't know what to do next. But I know I'm not going back. I didn't go to work for the next 3 days. I didn't sleep much either. My body was exhausted, but my mind wouldn't shut up. It kept spinning, replaying the moment over and over. Him walking into the bedroom. My words. His face. Like he was more caught off guard than guilty. The part that kept sticking with me was when he said, "It's not what you think." What was it then? Because to me, it looked exactly like a man cheating, lying, spending thousands of dollars on someone else. I decided not to tell the kids yet. One of them had finals, and the other had a drama performance that weekend. I couldn't drop this bomb on them just yet. They still thought Dad was at a conference. But I needed answers. Real ones. Not excuses. Not stammering. So I did what any pissed off, betrayed, half-unhinged wife would do. I started digging. I had access to our shared computer, which he never thought to log out of. Gmail, Facebook, iCloud. Everything was still logged in. I opened the tabs and sat there, telling myself I might regret this. But I didn't. First thing I found? A folder in his iCloud drive labeled Tax Docs 2022. Except when I opened it, there were no tax documents. Just pictures. Of her. Emily. She was in lingerie. In hotel rooms. On balconies. In that same damn silk robe. Some of the photos were of him too. Half-naked selfies. I had never seen him take selfies in our entire marriage. But apparently for her, he was flexing in the mirror like a college frat boy. Then I found their emails. They had a shared Gmail calendar labeled E&M weekend plans. It was full. Dinners, spa days, a trip to Seattle planned for next month. He had meetings blocked off at work, but really he was flying out to see her family. They were serious. Not some fling. Not some midlife crisis oops. They had an entire life. Synchronized like clockwork. Meanwhile, I was home, scheduling dentist appointments and grocery pickups. The final thing I found made me sick. An email to a real estate agent. They were looking at a house. Together. He said he wanted something more permanent in a quieter part of town once the divorce is final. He was already talking about starting fresh. Only I hadn't even filed yet. I didn't know. He was planning to leave me before I even knew I'd been replaced. That night, I texted him, "We need to talk. Tomorrow. No lies this time." He replied in less than a minute, "Okay. Name the time and place." I said, "Lunch. Downtown. Public." I picked a cafe I liked near Pioneer Courthouse Square. Busy enough to keep us civil. Not too loud. Not too private. He showed up 5 minutes early, looking like he always did. Neatly dressed. Calm. Polished. I looked like I hadn't slept in days, because I hadn't. He sat down. Smiled like a hostage negotiator. Thank you for meeting me. I didn't say anything. He looked around and lowered his voice. Rachel, I know this looks bad. But I need to explain, don't explain, I said. Just answer. He blinked. Was it going on while we were still sleeping together? Yes. My stomach dropped, even though I already knew. Did you love her? I asked. He hesitated. Then nodded. I think I do. I stared at him. So what was I? He sighed. You were my partner for a long time. The mother of my kids. But we drifted. You bought her a house, I said, my voice shaking. A ring. You took her on trips I begged you to take me on. You lied to my face every single day. That's not drifting. That's planning a new life while keeping the old one as backup. He looked down. Then he said something I didn't expect. She's pregnant. I felt the blood leave my body. Say that again? I whispered. He looked up, his eyes shiny. Emily's pregnant. Just a few weeks. We weren't going to tell anyone yet. I stood up. I don't remember paying the bill. I don't even remember walking to my car. All I remember is the cold air and the feeling that my life was splitting in two. Pregnant. That night, I finally told the kids. I didn't go into detail. I just said Dad had been dishonest. That he'd been seeing someone else. That I'd moved out and I was figuring things out. They cried. My daughter locked herself in her room. My son asked if I was going to leave forever. I didn't have answers. The next twist came 3 days later. Emily called me. No blocked number. No warning. Just her name on my screen. I didn't pick up. She called again. Then she sent a text. Please. I need to talk to you. It's about Mark. It's important. I waited a full day before answering. I said, talk. She replied, he lied to me too. I didn't respond. So she kept going. He told me you were separated for over a year. That you were the one who cheated first. That you were dragging out the divorce because you didn't want to let go. I sat there, staring at the screen, heart racing. Then she sent a photo. It was a screenshot of an email from him. The date was 3 weeks before I found the credit card bill. In it, he said, she won't sign the papers. She's trying to punish me. But I'm staying strong for us. I hadn't even seen a single divorce paper. Not one. He made her think I was some bitter, clinging ex-wife. And I was still cooking dinner for him while he sent her goodnight texts. She ended with, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't know what to say. I still don't. But I do know one thing. She's not the villain he made her out to be. And this whole story? It's not even close to over. After Emily texted me, I didn't reply for a few days. I didn't know what the point was. We weren't going to braid each other's hair and become friends. But a part of me also wanted to know what else he'd told her. Because clearly, I only knew half the story. Then, out of nowhere, she showed up. At my school. I was in the parking lot, about to head home after a long, miserable day of pretending everything was fine in front of students. She was standing by my car. Hoodie, sunglasses, no makeup. She looked pale, like she hadn't slept either. I'm sorry, she said before I could even speak. I didn't know where else to go. I didn't answer. Just stared at her. I'm not here to fight. I'm here because I found something. Something you probably want to see. She handed me a small manila envelope. I shouldn't have been snooping. But I needed to know if he was lying to me again. And, well, turns out he's really good at it. She turned and walked away. I sat in my car, locked the doors, and opened the envelope. Inside were printed emails. Screenshots. Photocopies. At first, I didn't get it. They were work documents, some financial reports, signed letters, contracts. But then I saw it. 2 forged signatures. Mine. He'd faked my name on refinance paperwork for our house. He'd taken out a personal loan using both our names, $50,000. That's why he'd been so in control of the finances. That's why I never saw that credit card statement before. He was rerouting everything. He'd changed online account access. Got a P.O. box. Used his mom's last name to register the condo. He wasn't just cheating. He was laundering his own marriage. I felt sick. That night, I took the documents to a lawyer. A friend of mine from college had gone into family law. She looked through everything quietly. Then she said, Rachel, I'm not just seeing infidelity here. I'm seeing fraud. Possible identity theft. This is serious. It didn't stop there. Turns out, the condo in the Pearl District, he used my credit as the co-signer. He'd submitted a fake employment record saying I made double my actual salary. I was legally tied to a condo I'd never set foot in until I showed up to confront his girlfriend. When I called him, I wasn't calm this time. You forged my name, I said, skipping hello entirely. He paused. What are you talking about? You used my identity to co-sign that condo. You took out a loan under both our names. You forged my signature, Mark. Long silence. I was going to pay it back. You weren't even going to tell me. I had to do it that way. You wouldn't have agreed. Damn right I wouldn't. Because I don't sign off on funding your double life. That was the moment it shifted. It wasn't just a betrayal anymore. It was a full-on war. I filed paperwork that same week. Freezed all joint assets. Froze the kids' college funds. My lawyer found that he'd tried to list me as non-contact on some of the real estate stuff, like I was the one with the problem. And here's the biggest twist. Emily wasn't actually pregnant. She admitted it during a phone call. He told me I was, she said. I went in for a checkup because something didn't feel right. I asked them to check again. They told me no. I was never pregnant. He showed me a fake lab result. That bastard. He faked a pregnancy to manipulate both of us. To pressure her into staying. To guilt me into walking away quietly. To make himself look like the poor, stressed man caught in a complicated life. I don't even know what to call that. Pathological? Psychotic? She cried on the phone. For a long time, I just sat there. Silent. Finally, I said, now you know who he really is. And she whispered, I feel like my life is a lie. I wanted to tell her, welcome to the club, but I didn't. Instead, I gave her the name of my lawyer. She filed her own complaint the next day. Now, the bank is involved. His firm is involved. They're doing an internal audit on his accounts. Apparently, he's not just been shady with me, he's been shady with them too. Clients are asking questions. One of them contacted me after seeing my name pop up on a statement. Apparently Mark had used my name to secure something called a character loan. I didn't even know what that was. But the hole keeps getting deeper. And now? Now he's suddenly emailing me like he's sorry. Like he'd gotten over his head. Like he misses his family. He sent a long message yesterday that ended with, we can fix this. Please don't let it all fall apart. And I just sat there, staring at the screen. Let it fall apart? It already has. What's left isn't even wreckage. It's rot. A week after Emily found out she was never pregnant, she and I met in person again. It was her idea. We met at a quiet cafe on the east side, both of us drained, worn out, but still trying to make sense of what happened. She brought a folder with her full of things she thought I needed to see. Inside were handwritten notes, little love letters Mark had left her in the condo. Text messages with more lies. Even screenshots from some of his private Instagram DMs to other women. Yes, other women. She looked at me and said, I don't think I was the only one he was cheating on you with. And I knew, in that exact moment, he wasn't just a man who made a mistake. He was someone who built lies for fun. For power. For control. But none of that compared to what happened next. My daughter found out. She overheard me on the phone with my lawyer. I didn't think she was home. I was venting about the forged signature, about Mark using my credit. I mentioned the fake pregnancy, and that's when she walked into the kitchen. She looked me dead in the eye and said, he did what? I froze. She demanded the whole truth. So I told her. As gently as I could. Her hands were shaking. She didn't say a word for a while. Then she whispered, he lied to all of us. She hasn't spoken to him since. And when my son found out through her, he started seeing the cracks, too. The times Mark bailed on his soccer games. The times he worked late and missed birthdays. My son asked me if he had ever really been there or if it was always fake. That's when I knew we had to confront him. As a family, we planned it on a Sunday. I told Mark to come over because the kids wanted to talk. I didn't tell him I'd be there too. I didn't tell him Emily would be waiting down the block either. He walked in smiling as if he still had some charm left to use. Hey, he said casually. Good to see everyone together. Nobody answered. The kids sat on the couch, stiff and silent. I was standing. I didn't sit down. Then I opened the folder and dropped it on the table. His smile dropped. He flipped through the pages. The fake lab report. The forged signatures. The DMs to other women. I said, you're done lying. To all of us. Then Emily walked in. He went completely still. She didn't say a word. Just stared at him. He started to speak, but she cut him off. You told me I was your fresh start, she said, voice flat. You told me Rachel was cold and distant. You told me your kids didn't want to see you. You told me I was the only one who made you feel alive. Then she pulled out her phone and played the recording. It was his voice. Crystal clear. Talking to someone named Aubrey. Telling her she was the only thing keeping him sane. The room went dead silent. I looked at him. His face was pale. His jaw was tight. You have nothing to say? I asked. He looked at all of us. At the kids. At Emily. At me. Then he finally said, I don't know who I am anymore. And that's when my daughter stood up. Her eyes were red. I don't care who you are, she said. You're not my dad. Not anymore. She walked out. My son followed her. Emily stared at him one last time. I'll be forwarding everything to your company's HR department. Then she left, too. He turned to me. Rachel, don't, I said. You're not sorry. You're sorry you got caught. You always were. He stood there for a second, looking like he didn't know where to go. Then he left. I didn't feel good after. I thought I would. But it was just quiet. Emily and I still talk sometimes. Not like friends, but like people who went through a war together. She moved out of the condo and back to Bend to be near her parents. She's starting over. The kids are in therapy now. So am I. Mark's job? Well, HR got the documents. He's on indefinite leave. Clients were notified of financial discrepancies. He might lose his license. He's been trying to email me, apologizing, begging for a conversation, telling me he's in a dark place. He's lucky I haven't gone after him harder. Yet. I think about the early years of our marriage a lot lately. Back when he used to make me laugh, before the layers of lies and distance. I ask myself if those memories were ever real. Maybe some of them were. But they're poison now. The house is being sold. I'm moving. Not just out of the house. Out of the life I shared with him. The kids and I are talking more. Closer than we've been in years. There's still anger and pain and all the pieces we're trying to glue back together. But we're doing it together. I don't know what comes next. Dating? Probably not for a while. I need time to figure out who I am when I'm not someone's wife, someone's plan B, someone's fool. But I know this much. I didn't fall apart. He expected me to. He built a house of lies, and when it came crashing down, I stepped out from the rubble. Still standing. Still me.